Yo, what's going up? Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Big Smith Gaming. Today we are back with another video, and today we got a video that's a little bit different from what I do. I usually post, gaming. It's in the name, Big Smith Gaming. But we're going to dive into the NFL draft. The draft is in about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, or 1 or 2 weeks now. Late April, and I'm probably going to post this mid-April. So let's jump right into it. So with the first overall pick, we've got the Tennessee Titans. It says their needs QB, wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. I think we all know what the pick is here. If it's something different, I would be really surprised. I think we all know that this is Cam Ward. Down QB year, but QB so valuable. You know they're probably going to get picked in the first. Top 5, you usually see at least 2, even on down years. Like, I would take probably the first 3 or 4 quarterbacks of last year's draft over Cam Ward. But QB is valuable, and a team's going to draft that. At 2, we got the Cleveland Browns. Now, this one's a bit tricky. We got people that are saying Shedeur. We got Travis Hunter, who people think is the overall best player in the draft, as you can see on this big board. And then Abdul Carter. I think that's what most people are thinking. But this is my mock draft. And I'll probably do another mock draft on the channel of what I would do. But today is what I think the team will do. And I've kind of got it narrowed down. I think, signing Kenny Pickett, re-signing Joe Flacco, that does nothing. That means nothing to them drafting a quarterback. They could still very well draft a quarterback. But I think they're going to go with the best overall player in the draft. Who knows if he's going to play both ways in the NFL. He sure as hell did it pretty good in college. I'm going to go with Travis Hunter. Okay, with the number 3 pick, we got the New York Giants. And like the Browns, they signed some QBs in the offseason. Browns signed Kenny Pickett and Flacco. The Giants signed Wilson and Jameis. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So, same way I feel about the Browns. I don't think that means they won't draft a quarterback because Russell Wilson's on a 1-year deal. So, that doesn't mean they won't draft a quarterback. But I really think that they're going to go with what I think is the second best overall player in the class, which is Abdul Carter. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if they did draft a QB. Same thing with the Browns. I wouldn't be surprised if QB went 1 and 2 in this class. But I think they got the Russell Wilson deal. I think they're going to do Russell Wilson for a year, and they might wait a year and see if there's a better QB class next year. With the 4th pick, we got the New England Patriots, and I've seen people jumping Ashton Jeanty this high. He is one of the best players in this class. I have him he's probably the 3rd best player, overall talent. I've got Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and then I got him. But I still don't like a running back at 4. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson does not stop you from drafting a running back, but I think it stops you from drafting a running back at 4. So I've took Ashton Jeanty out of this. McMillan, I think he's going to slide a lot. Will Campbell, they obviously need offensive line, and I do think this pick will be offensive line if they don't trade out of it. Will Campbell, I think that he's got short arms, and I know some teams might not care about that, but he doesn't fit that 33-inch threshold. So I've talked myself out of Will Campbell, but who they will be taking, who I think they'll be taking, is Armand Membu. He is someone that has risen, whatever the grammar is there, that's risen up draft boards all year. And he's ultra athletic tackle out of Mizzou, and I think that he has a better chance at sticking at tackle than Campbell does. I think Campbell, for a lot of teams, is a guard. And with the 5th pick, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. And looking at their needs, it says they need receiver. They do. They need receiver bad. Tight end. But I have this narrowed down between 3 positions. I've got wide receiver or tight end. And I want to draft Tyler Warren here so bad, but it is high for a tight end. And I've also got Mason Graham. Mason Graham, I think, has a really high floor. I think no matter what, he's going to be a good defensive lineman for you for his first 5 years of his contract. The 4-year contract you get and the 5th-year option if you want to pick it up. I think that he would be dominant within a year on this team. But I also think that Tyler Warren is easily the best tight end prospect in this draft. And that he can make a huge jump to their offense. Trevor Lawrence needs some weapons. He hasn't been the quarterback we thought he'd be coming out of the draft. And I think I'm going to go with the safe pick, and a lot of people have this pick as well. I think we're going to go with Mason Graham out of Michigan. And with the 6th pick, we got the Las Vegas Raiders, and I've got them down to a couple people. I've got Genty, is who I'm leaning to right now, but I could also see, obviously, them still taking a quarterback with Shedeur still on the board, and a receiver. I could see McMillan. That's the only one I could really see in this range. So, I do think I am going to go with who I've had them going with for a while, and that is Ashton Genty. He is a top 3 player in this draft in terms of skill, but he's a running back, so he falls to 6 here. I could see him going 4, but I have him at 6 here. He was a beast at Boise State. People have questions about the level of talent he went against, but I think he's borderline generational running back prospect. With the 7th pick, we got the New York Jets. It says that their needs is QB at the front. I just don't think after signing Justin Fields to $20 million a year, which is a good payday for him. I don't know if that's the smartest signing, but I mean it's only 2 years. I'm sure they have it out after 1. So, but I don't think they'll draft a QB at 7 after signing Fields for 2 years. I could see them drafting one, later down the board if a Dart falls or a Howard's going to be there, Will Howard. So, but I do not think that they're going to draft QB here. So, I do like receiver though, and I know I've been talking about how draft analysts have McMillan falling a lot, and I'm not really sure about the reasoning for that. I don't know why they have that. I think he is the best receiver in this class behind Hunter, and I do think Hunter is the best corner and receiver in this draft. I don't know if he'll play both, but I do think he is the best at both positions in this draft. But I have McMillan as he's the best receiver, as in that's his only position. So, they have him falling, but I don't know if I do. I think I'm going to select McMillan out of Arizona here. And for the 8th pick, I've got the Carolina Panthers, which is my favorite team. And unfortunately for the past few years, we haven't been very good. We've been very good since, Cam Newton MVP days, but that's all right. Hopefully we got the quarterback of the future in Bryce Young. He hasn't really panned out his first 2 years, but he's still got time. And it would be great to give him another weapon. We've tried the past couple years in terms of, I guess, signing and aging Adam Thielen. And, we tried to draft Jonathan Mingo a couple years pretty high. He did not pan out. And then this past year we drafted Xavier Legette. And, he showed some flashes as a rookie. But I also wouldn't be opposed to getting another receiver. Now, me personally, I want us to take McMillan on draft night. I think that would be great. But can't in this mock draft because it goes right before us to the Jets. So I have, y'all, you see I got them pulled up. I was trying to look at edge, and I see, Mike Green, James Pierce, which they both have character concerns or maturity concerns. Not sure what it is. See Eziraku, which is a good prospect. But I think at 8 is high for a lot of these dudes. I like Jihad Campbell a lot. He is he's a linebacker edge hybrid. He isn't your, Fred Warner, middle of the field, but he is, what's a good way to describe him? He reminds me a lot of like a Micah Parsons. Like, not on pure ability, but on terms of like how he would play the field. He would be your third down rusher for sure. I don't think he's a 3-down edge rusher at all. I think he's your pass rusher in certain situations. And there's a lot of times you can drop him back in coverage and he'll do just fine there. And I think that's who I'm going to go with here. So with the 8th pick, I've got the Panthers selecting Jihad Campbell. And with the 9th pick, we got the New Orleans Saints. Now, it says their needs are running back, receiver, and D-line. I'm going to go ahead and slide a comma in there right after D-line and put quarterback, because they need one bad. Derek Carr has obviously not been the answer, and he wasn't expected to be the answer. He's always been just a fringe top 20 guy. So, I think this is a spot that people might be surprised, but this is a spot that Shedeur absolutely could go. I could see Shedeur going here, and I could obviously see them drafting a McMillan if he's here, but he's not here in this draft. I could see, I'm pretty sure Walter Nolan's supposed to fall because of character concerns. So, but on pure talent, I could see a Walter Nolan go here if they're not too worried about his character concerns. I like a lot of guys here. I even like a Kenneth Grant. I think it's a little high, but I like him a lot. But I think I kind of went into this thinking I was going to pick him here. I've got, out of Colorado, Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur is obviously, he was a good player at Colorado last year. He doesn't have an elite arm. He doesn't have elite athleticism, but he is accurate. That's one thing you have to say about Shedeur, is that he is a very accurate quarterback. And you don't see, super high in the draft, you don't see, whether they either going to be super athletic or have a crazy arm to get drafted this high. But the one thing Shedeur does have is really good accuracy, and I think that plays in the NFL. And with the 10th pick, we got the Chicago Bears. Their needs here are running back, D-line, or safety. And I know a really good safety I like in this class, and his name is Malachi Starks. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with him, but safety drops. It has the past few years. It drops in the draft hard. But I think Malachi Starks is really good. Obviously, had better 2023 tape than this past year, but I like him a lot here. I also like Will Campbell here a lot. And I don't think Will Campbell's going to fall past 15. I think he's a top 5 or 6 player in this draft on pure talent. But I think he's going to fall a little bit because of his arms and teams seeing him as a guard instead of a tackle. And for the Bears, I could see him playing both positions, whatever they prefer him at. I think I'm going to go with the tackle/guard at LSU, Will Campbell. And with the 11th pick, I got the San Francisco 49ers. And for the past month or so, I've had this as a cornerback/DB spot. And obviously, they got Jahdae Barron ranked super high in here. And I have him as he's probably my number 2 cornerback. Probably my number 3 or 4 DB overall. But I still have Will Johnson as my number 1. And he's dropped on draft boards for a lot of people because he's a press man corner with ridiculously short arms to be a press man corner. But if you look at his tape, man, he's a press man corner no matter how short his arms are. And people are worried about his top end speed, but if you look at the film, man, he is an elite corner prospect. I have him as a top 5 player in this class in terms of pure talent. But saying all that, I just wanted to give you a little spiel about Will Johnson. Jahdae Barron is still a heck of a player. He is he's someone that I don't think plays on the outside at, on the NFL level. He's 5'11", which is short for a corner, but it isn't too bad. He would probably be a very good nickel cornerback with, I think, a very high floor as well. So I'm in between these two. I think I'm going to go with Jahdae Barron out of Texas. And as Bengal does, hook him, even though I am not a Texas fan. And with the 12th pick, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Now, early in the year, this was a spot where Ashton Jeanty fell to in like everybody's mock drafts. And now because everybody was thinking that running back doesn't go super high in the draft, but he's just one of those guys that is going to. I think he will be long gone before Dallas's pick, unless they trade up to get him, which I don't think they will. I've got him either at 4, 6, which I have him in this draft. Could see him going 9 or 10 if he's there. But unfortunately for the Cowboys, he doesn't fall to them in this draft. It kind of leaves you wondering where they're going to go. And receiver, my number one or two receiver, him or Travis, is off the board. But there has been a dude who ran ridiculously fast at the combine and has jumped up a lot of draft boards. His name's Matthew Golden. I like him a lot here as well. I could see them going, offensive line with Zach Martin retiring and just probably today or yesterday, Tyron Smith retired. So offensive line is very much in play, but with Will Campbell and M'Boue off the board, I like them going with a receiver here, and I'm going to go with Matthew Golden out of Texas. Hook him again, I guess. And with the 13th pick, we got the Miami Dolphins. And they're one of those teams that they have a lot of needs, I feel like. There's been rumors that Jalen Ramsey, as of yesterday, doesn't want to be there anymore, and they're trying to find a trade destination for him. And I like trying to get corner, even if he did stay. I still like them going after a corner to pair with him. But especially if he's leaving, corner is a really huge need for them. You can see them going offensive line as well, as the needs say. But I like corner here a lot. And if we look at we'll look at DB, corner, and safety. Obviously got Malachi Starks, and I think that safety is going to fall like it always does, unfortunately. But I could see this being a Will Johnson spot for sure if they like him. I like Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame a lot. Maxwell Hairston, Rebel, even though he had a injury like in week 3 or something, I'm pretty sure. But I think for me that this is a Will Johnson spot. And with the 14th pick, we got the Indianapolis Colts. And their dream scenario is Tyler Warren falls to 14. And fortunately for them, he has in this draft. I could see him going as high as 5. I think there might be a team that trades up for him. Now, in this draft, we don't have any trades, so the Colts are extremely happy to see Tyler Warren fall to them. And I'm going to make this quick and easy and go with Tyler Warren out of Penn State. And with the 15th pick, we got the Atlanta Falcons. Now, needs for them, it says wide receiver, center, edge, linebacker. I could definitely see receiver for them, but the top 2 are off the board. I think a Matthew Golden would look good to them, but obviously I got him at 12. I think Luther Burden is going to fall. His tape from 2023 is really good. 2024, still good, but not as good as 2023. I think he's going to fall to the mid-20s. I like edge here. Their edge rush the past year, the past few years, especially last year, they need that guy. And there's been no edges taken in this draft so far obviously Abdul Carter's number 1. And then you got hybrid Jahad Campbell. There hasn't been a true edge besides Abdul Carter taken in this draft. And there's a lot of talent at edge. Apparently there's a lot of character concerns as well. I like a Mike Green here, even though Obviously, he played at Marshall, lower competition, but I still like him here. He still put up close, damn near 20 sacks, I'm pretty sure. James Pierce, obviously, Tennessee's my favorite team. Can't believe I threw Hook 'em up horns earlier, but whatever. I like Michael Williams a lot. You know, obviously Texas A&M boys are good, but I have Michael Williams above them, and then the rest of those would be reaches. I like Ezeraku as well, out of Boston College. I ain't watched much of him, but I do like what I've seen so far whenever I look at his tape. But for me, even, being a, lower rated team, I still think Mike Green's production, especially in the NFL, I still think that Mike Green will produce in the NFL. He's undersized a little bit. I know he's 6'4", 248, which you're like, how is that undersized? For a 3-down, edge, a lot of guys like, you want that Myles Garrett size, like 270, 280. But the same way with James Pierce, he's a little small to be a 3-down guy. But with a 6'5", 243. But I still think that the upside is really good for Mike Green. And I think he also has a high floor. So I got Mike Green out of Marshall. And with the 16th pick, we've got the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not really going to think too long about this one. I could see them going with a DB, as it says by their needs. But I see Walter Nolan here, and I have him as a top 15 talented player in this draft. Even with his character concerns, I think that he is a hell of a player. 6'3", 305. Has some, pass rush upside. A lot of it. So I've got Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. And with the 17th pick, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, obviously, O-line is always in question for them, especially since their O-line sucks. And they lost Alex Cappa, which was rated the worst guard in football last year. I'm pretty sure that was a stat. I might have just made that up. And they need guard. They also, could kick a tackle in if they needed to. But I also think they need secondary. It doesn't have it as a need on here, but they do need secondary. I like Cam Taylor-Britt as a, young corner that is obviously getting better for that team. I think he was a rookie last year. I'm pretty sure it was his rookie year. I could be wrong. But I think they're missing Jesse Bates right about now. Obviously, he signed that extension with the Falcons. And I have them going with I think a pretty good Jesse Bates replacement, which is Malachi Starks. This is where I have him falling to. I have him as a top 8 player in this class based on pure talent. But he is a safety. Safeties always drop. And I have him dropping to the Bengals at 17. And at 18, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Offensive line has been a need for them recently in the past 4 drafts. And they refused to go after it in the draft. And I'd hate to do that again this year because they absolutely need it. But I think I might go away from it again. I do like edge. Obviously, you still got these top edges that I think a few of them will fall. Obviously Pierce with the character concerns. And Seattle likes to draft edge. So that is always an option. I like Josh Simmons. I think he, is up there for one of the best tackles in the class if he didn't get injured. And he has some of the best tape out of any offensive lineman in this draft. Kelvin Banks also is a very good tackle. I hear a lot of teams like him better as a guard, 6'4", 320, but he is also a very good tackle / guard. But I think that I'm going to have them take an edge. And for me, it comes down, I like the Texas A&M boys a lot, but For me, it comes down between Ezeraku and James Pierce, and they are different players. They're different players in terms of pass rushers. James Pierce is more of a speed guy, while Ezeraku is power. But for me, Seahawks have a stereo or a proto, whatever the word is, an edge, and they like strong, powerful edges. And I've got Donovan Ezeraku. With the 19th pick, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, this could be a James Pierce spot. I think that I like him as a top 15 talent in this class as well, but he's going to fall due to some character concerns and overall size at the position. I like Shamar Stewart a lot here as well. He's obviously a huge dude, 6'6", 290. I think he weighed in. I think he dropped weight a good amount at the combine, unless I'm thinking about someone else. And he is your prototypical 3-down edge. You know, good pass rush upside as well. Also like DB here a lot. I like guys like Trey Amos. Let's see. Let me get him pulled up. Benjamin Morris, I like. Maxwell Hairston, I like. He had a good combine. Revel. I like Revel a lot. I like Revel better than all three I've named prior, but he tore his ACL, I think, in week 3 of this season. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know if a team is willing to draft that. But he is a really good player. I like him a lot. I think he's the best cornerback out of the 4 I named here. But it's just according if a team wants to draft somebody with injury history. I do think he'll still go in the first round, but I don't have him going here. I think I'm going to go with, based on his combine and how he showed out at the combine, I got Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. And at 20, we got the Denver Broncos. They need offense. It's what they need. And it looks like I'm just reading off the needs here, but they really do just need offense. They hopefully have their QB of the future with Bo Nix. He looked pretty good at times in his rookie year. And this is a spot where a lot of people have Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina, which I like a lot. Cam Scadabo as the 3rd best running back is crazy. But anyway, Omarion Hampton here would not be a bad pick at all. See, now this is the range I could see some of these receivers going as well. I think it's, top 15 is early for a guy like Burden, Egbuka, and then everybody else I think is not first round picks, but mid-20s, early 20s is where I could see these receivers starting to go. But for me, I think I'm going to go with what everybody's thinking is the pick right now. I'm going to go along with it because I think it's such a good fit with Omarion Hampton out of UNC. And with the 21st pick, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm not sure at all where they're going to go with this pick. Obviously, you have the people that are saying, a Jalen Milroe or a Jackson Dart. And I don't think any of these other guys will go in the first round or even have a chance of going in the first round. If Steelers go with a quarterback here, that'll be the last quarterback that goes in the first round. Unless some team trades up into the first round to get that 5th-year option, which I don't think will happen. I think that Jackson Dart is the most likely quarterback to go with. I think Milroe could, but I think if there was a quarterback going to go here, it would be Jackson Dart. Now, I'm not sure if that's where I'm going to go. Obviously, there ain't another running back I would take in the first round. There's so much depth They could take one in the 5th round and be good. I mean, I love all of these running backs. I mean, Scatterbo ain't number 3, but he's, 6 or 7. 6, 7. So, got Cam Scatterbo, which I love. Dylan Sampson, who I love, obviously, Tennessee boy. Caleb Johnson's great. Both Ohio State boys are amazing. I mean, this class is so deep. I even like Devin Neal out of Kansas. I love ETN's upside. I love all these guys. Tootin ran 4.32 at the combine. Rocket Sanders had a good. Ollie Gordon had an amazing 2023. I mean, this draft. Donovan Edwards had a really good 2023. I mean, this draft running back class is so deep. Like, you might have 3rd or 4th round have 10 running backs in it. But anyway, Steelers are not going to take one here, especially with Hampton off the board. I think I'm going to go with the developmental. Is that what you supposed to say? The developmental quarterback out of Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. Now, I'm sure there are probably a lot of Steelers fans that hate that pick. If they're like, if you're going to take a developmental quarterback, why not take a ultra athlete with a cannon in Jalen Milroe? I kind of agree, but apparently a lot of people have Jackson Dart higher on their board, and sooner or later I'm going to do a draft of what I would do, but for here I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. And with the 22nd pick, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. And need for them says wide receiver, tight end, which is the route I'm going to go. I've got it down between 3 people, honestly. Now, obviously, they could take, you're in the back end of the 1st round. I could see them taking D-line, edge, anybody. But for me, I have it narrowed down to 3 with the way the draft board's fallen. I've got either Burden, Egbuka, or the 2nd best tight end in the class in Colston Loveland. And obviously, the top 2 tight ends in this class are Loveland and Warren. Warren I have as a clear number 1. Loveland is very talented as well. With Loveland, you don't get the blocking that you would get with Warren, and Warren ain't a polished run blocker or anything. That's something he has to work on as well. But with Loveland, even at 6'5", 245, which is, a pretty good sized tight end, he isn't a blocking tight end. You can think of him as your, split out wide, like a Kelsey type. But even Kelsey won't mind a run block every now and then. This guy's not a very good run blocker. Now, he can work on it, and he has the size to do it. But you're getting him as a pure receiving threat, and you can work on his blocking. And with receiver, you have Burden, who I'm not as high on as everybody else is. Obviously, he had the good 2023, but I'm not super high on him. I like Egbuka better. Egbuka can do a little bit of everything. He's not absolutely amazing at one thing. He isn't like an elite jump ball. He doesn't have elite speed, but he's really good at everything, and he's pretty polished at everything. He's a good route runner. So I have this between Egbuka and Loveland, and I think I'm going to go with Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. And with the 23rd pick, we have the Green Bay Packers. And I think they like how the board has fell to them, which leaves Burden and Egbuka. And for me personally, I like Egbuka better. I don't know how teams don't like him more than Burden. Let's see. Is there any other receivers I drafted so far? I like him better than Matthew Golden, personally. I think that Matthew Golden at 12, the reason that people have him going so high is because he ran such a good time at the combine, ran a 4.29. But he doesn't play at that speed. Like, he's not an elite deep threat like a Xavier Worthy was, drafting him whenever he ran a 4.21. Like, that ain't Matthew Golden's game. Now, it's great that he ran a 4.29, and obviously that means he can run that fast, but he doesn't play that fast. And I like Egbuka straight out of the draft better than Matthew Golden and Luther Burden. I think he's just polished all around. And I've talked about him so much, it'd probably be a sin not to go with him. So I'm going to go with him. I've got Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. And with the 24th pick, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, for me, the whole time, this has been DB all the way. And you have some good ones that have failed to you. Or that have fallen to you. Man, my grammar is not good. Obviously, I had Maxwell Hairston going at 19. And I think a lot of these corners are interchangeable in terms of where they'll go in the draft. I think this could be a Trey Amos spot. This could be a Benjamin Morrison spot. It could be a Rebels spot. This could even be, a Nick Emanwari spot. I like all those guys here. Now, who I'm going to go with, I still don't know. I like Xavier Watts. I think that based on who I think is the best corner here, it's Savone Rebel. Or Chavone. I think it's pronounced Savone. I'm not super sure. But even with the injury, I think that his upside is higher than these other guys. And I think he's going to have a good NFL career. So I've got at an ECU, Savone Rebel. And at 25, or with the 25th pick, we have the Houston Texans. And I'm sure some of y'all are like, what the hell is Josh Simmons and Kelvin Banks still doing here? And looking at it now, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of places that these guys could go. I could see, either one of them interchangeable going, 21 to the Steelers. I would hope that the Seahawks would think about it, but based off years past, they won't. So they could obviously go higher. They could both be top 15 picks for all I know. I know a lot of people are high on Josh Simmons. But the reason I say that is because I'm not going to let one of them drop any further. Josh Simmons, based off just tape, I think is the better player. But Kelvin Banks, a lot of teams see that he has guard flexibility because he's 6'4", 320. I'm not really sure which one Texans will go with here. I think I'm going to go with who I think is more talented, and that'll be Josh Simmons at Ohio State. With the 26th pick, I've got the Los Angeles Rams. And I've realized that I might have made a mistake. And I looked at linebacker and I see Jalen Walker here. Hybrid edge / linebacker. And I don't think he falls to 26. Now, in this mock draft, I obviously have him falling. I could see him going as high as 8, where I have Jahad Campbell to the Panthers. But I can't let him fall any further. I thought about, I was talking about how Josh Simmons and Kelvin Banks have both fallen, but thought about selecting Banks here, but I think I've got to go with Jalen Walker out of Georgia. I cannot let him fall any further. And with the Ravens on the clock, says their needs are guard, edge, and DB. Obviously still have some really good edges left on the board. James Pierce, who I think is a very talented edge rusher, could go here. I like Shamar Stewart here. I think Nick Scorton is a very good player as well, but I do see him as a second rounder. And I see a lot of these other guys as second rounders. Michael Williams, though, I like him a lot too. Said all that to not go with edge. And I'm going to go with somebody out of North Dakota State, which has been weirdly producing NFL talent, with Gray Zabel. And a lot of people might not know who he is. And That's all right. All you got to know is that he can play absolutely anywhere on the offensive line. They got him listed as tackle. He's not a tackle. He's 6'6", 305, but his arms, he's got really short arms, which is okay. He could be a swing tackle. Like, if he needed to play tackle, he can. But in the NFL, he's a guard, and he even will take some center reps. I like Kelvin Banks, obviously. We were talking about him earlier with the 25th pick. But I like Gray Zabel here a lot. And I'm going to go with him. Next, we got the Detroit Lions. You see their needs: wide receiver, guard, edge, linebacker. I'm not taking these players based off what this big board says is their needs. I do think that they could go with receiver here. I absolutely. What is my hair doing? Let's try to. Ooh, that looks terrible. It's a little better. Okay. I do like receiver here. I could see them taking a Luther Burden. I don't think any of the other receivers are getting in the first round. I like a James Pierce here. I really like a James Pierce here. I also like a Kelvin Banks here. Kenneth Grant, I could also see going here, even though he is a interior defensive lineman. I do think Kenneth Grant is slipping a little bit in my draft. I could see him going as high as 15, or going as high as 16. And I could definitely see teams taking him even earlier. See him going at 13. But that ain't what happened in this mock draft. But I'm not going to take Burden here. I think I've got it either between Banks and Pierce. I like James Pierce a lot, man. I think on pure talent upside, I'm going to go with James Pierce out of Tennessee. And at 29, we got the Washington Commanders. Says their needs a running back, guard, edge, corner. I think I'm just going to make this pick really easy. Take the best. I say guard. Listed at tackle, but best where I think he would play in the NFL. Guard on the board with Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. And with the 31st pick, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Says they need guard, tackle, D-line, which I agree with. I do think that they need O-line pretty bad. And if you think about it, a lot of the O-linemen are gone, except someone that a lot of people have forgot about. And he didn't test super well at the combine, dropped down, but he was ranked, early mock drafts, top 15. He was going top 15 pretty consistently. We've got, not a tackle, clicked on the wrong thing. We've got Tyler Booker out of Alabama. And I think he would be a great pick here for the Chiefs. 6'5", 325 out of, lost my train of thought. 6'5", 225 out of 325 out of Alabama. And he's a power guy. And you might think that's not, a perfect fit for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's just a great offensive lineman. He's a very good offensive lineman. And I like Josh Connerly a lot. I like Donovan Jackson. I could see Easery going really high in this draft. And as far as listed tackles, listed guards. Oh, I'm clicking on. I see. As far as listed guards, none of these other guys are sniffing the first round. I like a lot of them, like Lampkin, even though he's really short, 5'11", 290. But I like him. These guys ain't sniffing the first round. I think that a great spot, or he's just a great lineman. I'm going to go with Tyler Booker. And with the last pick in the first round, I have the Eagles. And Luther Burden's looking me right in the face. I'm like, don't let me slip out of the first round. But also, guys like Kenneth Grant are slipping out of the first round. I could see the Chiefs going with him. which obviously we're on the Eagles now, but I could see the Chiefs going with him, and I kind of like that now, but I can't go back, and that's okay. I still like Tyler Booker for the Chiefs, but for this draft, I got him slipping out of the first round. I don't know how Omar Norman Lott is ranked this high on this big board. I like his, he should be ranked around his draft position, 52. I like him a lot, obviously Tennessee fan, but he's not, you know, a top 30 player in this class at all. But anyway, back to the Eagles pick. I could see, I like Luther Burden here a lot, man. I could also see one of the corners that I like a lot that I thought were very similar based on where they could go in the draft. Amos and Morrison left out of those original 5. But, man. Mykel Williams, man. We've got Mykel Williams and Shamar Stewart falling out of the first round. I mean, some guys have to fall out. I mean, that's just how it works. Some guys are going to make it to the second round. And those are just some of the guys that I have making it to the second round. But I think I'm going to, you know, let my gut feeling take over this pick and go with Luther Burden out of Missouri. And there it is. I've made the screen a little bit smaller so you can see everybody. I don't think my face cam's in the way. But there's my first mock draft of the year, or at least recorded mock draft. And I like a lot of the picks I made. I like this mock draft a lot. There's a lot of, you know, mock draft. I wish I could see some of the guys, you know, some first round snubs like, you know, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, if you want to call him a first round. He very well could be in the first round. Kenneth Grant, who I think could very well go in the first round, you know, top 15, maybe. But this is who I got this time. I like the picks. And if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to leave a comment, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'd like to get, you know, one more mock draft in before the official draft. And maybe change a few things up. Like, I'm obviously don't want to just, you know, copy and paste the same mock draft 2 weeks in a row. But, you know, maybe make the challenge where I have to change each pick. Besides number 1. Because I think every team could pick anybody in this draft. Besides number 1, I think that the Titans are for sure getting Cam Ward. If you enjoyed that, make sure to let me know. And until next time, peace.